Right now I have with me Bruce Cornwell, and he's the director, the writer, the producer, the do-it-all man, right?
I guess that's what
you
call it.
For the play Second Coming.
Second Coming,
with
yes.
him, he's brought Mother Ann Lee in the form, actually it's Elizabeth Frishkoff. Thank you so much for being here today to talk about the ministry and the character and ministry of Mother Ann Lee. And who was she?
Ann Lee was the founder of the Shaker religious sect. She came over in 1784 from Manchester, 1774 from Manchester, England, and she founded this religious sect that eventually became the largest utopian community in this country. It was very successful all the way into the late 1800s, and there's still a few Shakers left now, but...
and what made her religion, or I should ask Mother Ann Lee, or what made her religion unique?
Okay.
I was looking for the right word there.
There were a number of things. They are certainly the fact that they lived in communes. The men and the women lived separately, and they were celibate.
So that meant that the religion couldn't go on much longer.
Well, one of the reasons that it succeeded so well for so long is that they took in orphans.
Oh,
okay. And many times, as you know...
So they had children, but they weren't theirs.
Right. And sometimes families would actually join the Shakers, but then the families would be separated. The men would go to one dorm, the women would go to the other.
Did
sometimes
they ever
the
get
children,
together again?
They would see each other in passing, but no, they rarely touched. I don't think they touched at all.
So
actually.
It was kind of tough on the kids. Where were they? If they were boys, they were with the guys.
With the boy, well, there were children's dorms as well. Okay. Everyone that became a Shaker, that joined the Shakers, was taught a profession or a craft. They were always well fed. And they were always free to leave as well, so they weren't...
That's very interesting, because I must say I don't know a whole lot about the Shakers, so I know about the Quakers, but not the Shakers, so,
Well,
and you probably know the song, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." I understand that song actually came from elders who were giving the children freedom to leave, and they were giving them that song as a gift, inviting them to come back and find the simplicity of the Shaker life down the road.
I see. And can you sing part of that?
That song?
Yeah.
It's not in the play.
No. Oh, okay. It's not in the play.
Sing it. But it's like, "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in a place just right, it will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we will not be ashamed. To turn and to turn, 'twill be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's not in the play, huh?
That one's not in the play.
It's like, okay,
But you can hear in the lyrics that it's an invitation to find your way and to come to
back,
the right
welcome back.
Yeah.
What got you to write this?
Okay, I'm pastor of the Community Reformed Church of Colonie. I've been there for 27 years now. My church is located on what used to be part of the original Shakers site.
Okay.
And so I just figured after a while that I really wanted to know about the Shakers. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know anything about Mother Ann Lee, other than that she was buried down the street from the church. And my background was in theater. Before I went into ministry, I ran an off-Broadway theater in New York and taught acting in a private school.
So this is like right up your alley.
Yeah, so I've always tried to incorporate theater into my ministry. I get a sabbatical every 7 years, and whenever I get a sabbatical, I write a play, usually a musical. And decided to write this would be something worth doing.
You wrote this, it's a musical, as you said. Did you write all the music, or is this music from the...
all of the music is from the Shakers. They are Shaker hymns, and we plowed through many.
Go to the Library of Congress? How did you find them all?
Books, there are books published. There's lots of CDs, the recordings of Shaker music.
Of course, there is a museum, the Shaker Museum.
Oh yeah, there's many Shaker museums.
Yeah, so that you got them all. But let's tell about the play. You play Mother Ann Lee.
That's right.
And you are going to, and you're performing in July, is that correct?
There are 2 weekends of performances.
July 15th is the opening night.
Okay.
And through the 24th.
Right.
I think there's matinees on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And where is this?
It's actually in the first historical building that, on the first historical site right next to Bruce's church.
Okay.
The Shaker Heritage Society right across from the airport.
Yep.
Many people may have recognized that there's reference to the Shaker Museum right there.
They have a gift shop in there as well, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that just so happens that when I wrote the play, I set the play in the meeting house, so it really works very well for the play.
Yeah,
so.
and the meeting house is used for many different venues now.
Right.
Are there any Shakers left in the area?
Not in the area. Up in Sabbath Day Lake, Maine, there is still an active Shaker community, but I think there's about three people left.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's very small.
That's rather interesting. You know, at least when you talk about the Quakers, they live as families.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
How did they get the name Shakers?
Well, actually, they were first known as Shaking Quakers, but the reason they were, when they first came over, when they led worship, it was very ecstatic, and they would be spirit-filled, and they would get up and they would start spinning around and whirling and twirling and all screaming and everything. But it was very frenzied.
Got them going now.
Later on, the dance became choreographed, but early on, it was very spirit-filled.
Now, how many are in your production?
There are 14.
14,
yes.
So you have a good-sized production.
Good-sized cast, yes.
Great, and you can get tickets. How do they get tickets?
They can go online. The website is secondcomingplay.com. You can buy tickets there. There's also the phone number, which I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay,
okay.
I don't have it either.
Oh, okay. But it is on that site. You go to the website and you can get the tickets, and you can.
Now you do this. Now you're performing it this year. Now will it be done next year, or how do you?
Well, we'll see how it goes this year.
See how it goes.
Last year we did it as a staged reading, so this is the first year we're going to see it
do it as
done
a production.
As a production, and if it works, hopefully it will happen again.
Elizabeth, how long have you been acting?
Acting, well, I actually was a theater major in college, but I haven't really performed aside from Christmas plays for the last 25 years. So this was the first time
even after being a theater major.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I've been a mom and done professional life, and
when you do a production, and I mean I don't need to tell you this. I mean you do a production, your whole life is in this production for at least 6 weeks. If you're a producer, it's probably longer, but for an actor, you're really committed because you've got to get that fine-tuned in a short period of time. And get it on the stage.
But I mentioned to Bruce when I was auditioning last summer that the character of Ann Lee is a very exciting character. In some ways reminded me of Abigail from The Crucible. She's just got a lot of different characters and color to her. The play is very challenging because it's following her whole life. It goes from when she's a young woman in her late teens all the way to when she dies in her 40s.
She died in her 40s?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I don't know why I always thought that she was older when she died.
Well, she was referred to as mother.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, being beaten and thrown in prisons and having very little food and, you know, they had a very hard life at that time.
Yeah.
So, you know, she probably did look elderly by the time she was on her way out.
Did she come to this country to avoid persecution? Was that it?
That was part of it.
Part of it
factored into it, certainly, and freedom. You know, there were a lot of constraints on people who had, you know, very Puritanic perspectives, and they were a subset of the Puritan stream, so they were even more targeted in some ways. So
yeah, that's rather interesting. So if you want to learn more about Mother Ann Lee and about her life, And we all should be interested because it's right here in our community.
Yeah.
So this is something when you have visitors come and you say, oh, you need to see the Shaker Museum or something, you ought to have a little bit of a background about what Mother Ann Lee was all about and what her religion was and what her commune was about. This is really important, I think, for our area.
I think it's actually really important for our time. For me, my interest in history really is in understanding the influences that have affected us and where we are today. And we look at where we are in our culture, we have so many divergent views, and President Hamilton mentioned that as well, that our founding country had many different perspectives coming in, and there are even more divergent streams that influence us. And I think if we're going to move into the future, we really need to embrace our history and look for those opportunities to celebrate and understand one another.
Exactly, and I think I couldn't have said it any better. We're going to thank you both for being here. We're going to take a quick